You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good. I bid you good evening from the Sunshine State. Took a little business trip here, and so now I get to do the fun part of not the paid job, but the fun part of hanging out with y'all on a Tuesday night. A lot of news here for the past couple days, right? We've had weeks of slow-moving action, and a lot of news been coming out here. A lot of little nicks and bumps and bruises popping up here in training camp too to be aware of. But overall, man, I'm great. Get to sit here and do a little mock draft with y'all tonight. How are you guys?
I'm doing fantastic. Olympics has been great. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with myself when I can't just come home and flip on some random sport. It always bugs me when the Olympics ends, how much I miss the Olympics. But back to the NFL. Very interesting, these little blips that you're talking about, Kevin. Christian McCaffrey, who we probably weren't going to see a ton of anyways. We're definitely not going to see any in the preseason. Trying to think of the other one that I saw here. Murray's not going to play any of the preseason. And maybe the biggest thing, aside from Lions, Giants combined practices, which have been spicy at best, is the who's going to get Brandon Ayuk. Because it seems like now Brandon Ayuk will not play for the 49ers this year. Like that's what it seems like. I think if we had this discussion 4 weeks ago, and I think we did have kind of this discussion a couple of weeks ago, we were all thinking that Ayuk would likely stay, but now it seems like that has shifted. And the latest reporting that I'm seeing today from ESPN is that if he gets moved, it's not to the Patriots. The Patriots said that they are out of the Brandon Ayuk trade talks.
Right, and that was one of those that you're right. We did kind of bring that up, especially with some of the previous, higher profile guys in San Francisco, seemingly getting deals done at the end of that. And you're right. Now all of a sudden there's reports coming out that there's lots of kind of trade offers going on here. Teams heavy in negotiation type of deals, even to the point where they've given permission for Brandon Ayuk to start negotiating a future contract type of deals there as well. So, it's very interesting. And what could be even interesting there as well is if, all of a sudden the market being isn't necessarily there as far as what the signing that he's looking to do and the contract that he's looking to do, and what that then a wrinkle gets added into the mix there as well.
I saw a tweet that said Patriots offer more money, but Browns offer a better chance at winning. And then it said, imagine telling somebody that was the case 5 years ago, that the Patriots don't offer as good a chance of winning as the Browns do. Imagine having that conversation, being like, hey, in 5 years, guess what? You're going to actually have a better shot at winning with the Browns than you will with the Patriots. Like, what, just the craziness that is the evolution of the game. And there's going to be a ton of that this year with so many staples that we knew over the last 10, 12 years, head coaches that left, teams or players going to new teams. It's kind of one of those really wide open years that ultimately ends in another Chiefs Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't be wrong that they're going to be in contention. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, it's been interesting, right? The overnight reports were that the Steelers and Commanders were out, and that it was the Browns and the Patriots. And then we start getting in through today, and then the Patriots are rumored to be out, but the Steelers have re-engaged. The Commanders have been the team that Ayuk wanted to seemingly play for all along, because when he first started referencing he wanted to trade, he was referencing Jaden Daniels and calling him out via socials. trying to get into Washington. So all this is interesting. And from reports out of San Francisco, and not the team, but just people who cover the team, they're estimating that the 49ers offered Brandon Ayuk somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million per year for a contract extension. However, he's looking for 30. Like, he wants top 5 money. If none of these teams can get there, it will be interesting if Ayuk decides, you know what, I'm going to bank on myself, and then we're going to hit free agency. Because if he gets franchised, he's still going to get $30 million a year. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out, because I do think the money is going to have to be right, because no team gives him a greater shot at winning than the San Francisco 49ers do currently.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have to make a business decision, right? Does he want to just get paid? And you're completely entitled to do so. Or is he willing to take a little bit of a haircut to play for a contender, i.e. Cleveland, or stay there in the Golden Gate City? So it'll be very interesting to see what unfolds here in the next few days. But I have a feeling we will have answers by the time we see everybody next week.
Yeah. Did you guys kind of changing the subject here? Did you watch any of the preseason game with Houston and Chicago?
I watched it for the kickoffs.
That's all I watched it for too.
The game was what it was, right? It's a bunch of 3rd and 4th stringers, and good for them that they get to step on an NFL field. They got to suit up. They got to play. Like, what a cool story for a lot of these guys who are never going to see live, NFL regular season action. But it was a cool moment for a lot of those guys. I watched it for the kickoffs. I wanted to see how that played out.
And what'd you think of it? Because I think the kickoff matters again.
I think it will matter. I think a lot of these teams, right? It was kind of their first live exposure to it against another team. I think they're playing it close to their vest, right? Like, I do think we're going to see some designed plays out of this in some way, form, or fashion, but we are not going to see any of it in the preseason. Like,
no.
We will see it, we'll see the first one probably like week 4 or 5. Like, we want the staple of the offense solidified, and then we're going to start doing wrinkles and different things like that. But they got to get the meat and potatoes before you start worrying about, the Caesar salad on the side.
And if it weren't for a couple of turf monsters, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But if it weren't for a couple of turf monsters, I think we could have seen 1 or 2 break for a big game.
We could have. And really, that was the best looking condition that field's been on in a couple years. Honestly, like, I actually was pretty happy with how that field looked, because normally it's kind of a beat up mess for some reason. Like, it just does not drain water well. They've had weird storms roll through.
No exception this year.
Camps or anything like that, but it felt like the field held up better than in previous years. So I do think that was a win for Canton.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how those kickoffs work. That's all I got.
Fair enough. Any other news notes we want to hit up and chat about before we start getting into some mocking?
Did you guys see the Russell Wilson and Justin Fields fight?
I didn't see that one.
I heard about it. I never went and looked.
They called it a fight. It's a scuffle. So, allegedly,
go ahead.
How this goes is they were at practice running whatever drill, and I guess Fields drops a dime into the end zone. And the story, again, I cannot completely confirm this. The story goes, Fields turned to Russell Wilson and said something to the effect of, highest paid backup in the league, go sit down, Grandpa. And Russ slapped Fields, and then the team kind of converged on itself. I don't know. Like,
Again, allegedly in the rumor mill, but
yes,
it's
allegedly
funny.
that's what went down in the rumor mill. Now, everybody has their own version of the truth. I'm simply repeating what I heard allegedly happened, but I did see the scuffle. Like, as far as the team kind of converging all in together, you could tell something was amiss. Everybody has a consensus report that Fields and Wilson did have a spat, we will call it. I don't know what you'll ever know is what did Fields actually say, or is that accurate? Like he did that because Fields is still under the mindset he's fighting for a starting job, right? Like,
Yeah.
Russ felt like that job was promised to him by Tomlin. Fields feels like, you know what, I'm fighting for this job, and it will be interesting to see how this plays out because I don't know that Russ will be the starter for all 17 regular season games for the Steelers this year.
I have a hard time believing that'll hold up that way. If I did see that they named him on the unofficial, the unofficial depth chart.
And Jared Stidham's ahead of Bo Nix on the Broncos, and we all know that's a farce.
And Zach Wilson was number 2 on the Broncos. Bo Nix was number 3, right? Like,
why are teams? That was released by the team. The team said, "Here's our unofficial depth chart." Well, you're the team. You can make it official. It's an official depth chart if it comes from an official source. I lost it today when I saw that. I was like,
it's a humbling mechanism for rookies. That's what this is. For guys on the bubble and rookies, this is a humbling mechanism. Outside of that, I give no credit or credence to anything that's on here other than it's a way to get players goat a little bit and, give teams who have them as an opponent, right? So give whoever has the Broncos as an opponent for like the first 2 or 3 weeks in the season something different to chew on and worry about besides just going back and looking at Bo Nix college film,
right?
Or whoever else, right? Like it's smoke screen. It's smoke screen. Like, don't pay attention to it. It's smoke screen. You care week 3 of preseason. That's where you care, and not necessarily who's starting that game, but what the depth chart looks like. Right. That's when you care. That's why you should not have a home league draft. You can do any other type of draft, right? Derek and I have done tons, but you don't do a home league draft before week 3 of the preseason.
Right. But it's I did find it funny that they listed Zach Wilson number 2 on the depth chart, and several reports of Sean Payton, when asked if Zach Wilson's going to take more reps with the first team, and like, yeah, we'll see, right? Like, reports not very glowing out of Zach Wilson's camp this season. So
yeah,
so very interesting. Yeah. Any other camp news or news and notes we want to hit up?
It sounds like Jordan Love's going to play in the preseason. Sounds like he's going to play in week 1 of the preseason, the official week 1 of the preseason, which I like to see, honestly, guys. Like, I think this is part of the reason the first couple of weeks of the regular season are so choppy compared to getting into it. And I understand it's a long season, and I'm not saying these guys need to be out here for the entire game, but I do like the fact that go in and get a lather, right? Like, go in, play a couple series, get used to the cadence, working with your teammates. Again, it's an opportunity, especially for the linemen, to hit someone not wearing the same uniform as you, right? Like, get some of that aggression out, get amped up, and then honestly, I'm a big proponent of leave everybody in uniform until after the third quarter, because I want my players in the right mindset coming out of halftime.
Yeah.
Veteran or not, like, I want them in the right mindset coming out of halftime. Jog, like, you can know you're not going in, but jog up and down, stretch, warm up, go through the process and get yourself mentally prepared for what is coming ahead. And to me, not the NFL coach, I feel like that is the best way to build good habits, is to start them as early as possible. And the earliest you can start them is either the Hall of Fame game for 2 teams or week 1 of the preseason for the other 30.
I think another big component to this, and it happens all the time in practice, and you can practice it as much as you want, but it's the mechanics of everything, right? The mechanics of getting the play from the play caller, having the quarterback then, relay the play to everybody else. The mechanics of, all of the mechanics of going through the motions. You think about when these football players, when they practice, they're such creatures of habit, right? They're creatures of habit. They get in the huddle takes a certain amount of time, clap when they break the huddle. There's a cadence of getting from the huddle to the line of scrimmage, and then everything else kind of goes from there, right? But the mechanics of all of that, which I think is kind of what the downfall for Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, right, was they had none of those mechanics because they didn't practice it in the preseason. Because those guys weren't on the field in a game situation, it sucked. That's why Denver got so many delayed games. It's because the mechanics weren't there. So I agree with you, Kevin. I think if you're anybody, you need to act like you're going to play an entire game. I think the idea of going out there at halftime and, mentally preparing like you're going to go in, even if you're not, I think that's all important. The mechanics of, like I said, getting the play, of, getting comfortable with what the referees are calling this year, points of emphasis. I think that's all important stuff. There's points of emphasis that come out every preseason of what they're going to be calling this year. And sure, that stuff relaxes a little bit as you get into the regular season, but it relaxes because the guys adapt to what it is being called, right? They're professional athletes. They can adapt quickly to, if holding is a point of emphasis this year, or like whatever it is, a certain grab that they're doing, they adapt, they figure it out. We don't see as many of those penalties as we get into the regular season. So I agree. I was a little kind of caught off guard, and Houston gets, 4 games. Chicago gets 4 games. So I guess it's fine, but like, why not take advantage of the fact that you're going to hear, the play caller? I know that CJ Stroud had the earpiece in and everything, but like, I kind of want to see him get ready, even though he's not going to go. I'd like to see him, be in the mindset and just mentally get there. And hopefully that's what they'll do with him. And if he gets a couple snaps, but I think it's good for these guys and do it early, right? Because if you do have something happen, you have bought yourself time before the games actually count. So do it in week 1, actually do it in week 1, mentally do it in weeks 2 and preseason weeks 2 and 3, so that you're ready when actual week 1 comes around.
Fair enough. I like it. Some really good points there. Anything else we want to hit up? Are we ready to do some mocking?
Let's draft.
All right. So we got a mock draft ready to go for y'all tonight. And it's going to be kind of a standard mock out there. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex, defense, special teams, and kicker, and then some bench spots, about 14 rounds here. But we've got a little twist, a little kicker on this thing as well. And there's some pitfalls and some power-ups here. And so the way this will work is each of us will have a power-up that we can use 1 time throughout the draft. And everybody has the same power-up there, where you have the anti-snipe mechanism that would allow you to jump up to 2 spots ahead to get your guy there. The pitfalls are, we'll each randomly be assigned one here. And those pitfalls are that a person will be able to veto another host's draft pick, be able to make another host pick from a specific position for that draft pick, or make another host pick from a specific team for that draft pick. So some very interesting things here, and it should be kind of fun as we start rocking and rolling through that. And we've got the randomizer here. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look here at the who's first up on the veto another host draft pick. So let's go ahead and see who that is. Oh, keep going. Keep going.
Derek, it's you.
It is me. All righty. So I've got the veto another host draft pick here. Next up, we have make another host pick from a specific position for that draft pick. Oh, okay. And that is Alex. You'll get to have a
Oh, you hear that shit? Spin it.
spin it. Okay.
I'm
All right.
just kidding.
And then Kevin, you will.
I wonder who this could be.
Who's gonna get this one?
I was just gonna be amazed if it actually stopped on your.
You get
your
a
lineup
make
name.
What a dumb thing.
Alrighty. So
Kevin gets to make another host pick from a specific team. That's good stuff.
yes. So this will be interesting. Be fun to see how this one plays out here, and the extra strategy wrinkle that we've added into this one. And we're gonna go ahead and be getting the mock set up here, and we've kind of each gone through and set it up where Alex gave us some random draft picks that we were rocking and rolling from. And so Kevin had the third spot, I'm at the 9th spot, and Alex is at the 11th spot here. And so that's how that'll rock and roll. We've got some computers aided here as well. So let's go ahead and start this guy off.
Hold on before we go. Oh, okay, whatever. We're looking for a QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, a defense, and 5 bench spots.
Correct.
I've been doing this a lot lately, picking at the top. I am passing on CeeDee Lamb because of this contract situation. And I'm going Tyreek Hill here to start this team.
Alrighty, and so that puts me on the clock here, and lots of different ways that we can go. So far off the board: Justin Jefferson, CMC, Tyreek, CD, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, and that leaves me on the clock here. And this one here is pretty easy for me with
Pause. You have to pick from the New England Patriots.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shoot. He's going for it early.
He brought that one out hard. All right, let's see here.
Patriots. Who's the best available Patriots player right now?
Can we say Brandon Ayuk was already traded?
He has not been traded.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see here.
This is called tilt.
I would say so. Ramondre Stevenson, that's your first-rated New England Patriots player? Down there at 68.
I believe it. Well, I guess we know what we're doing.
Holy cow. Great use of your pitfall, Kevin. All right, so after Derek picks Ramondre Stevenson, next off the board goes Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a steal here, but I'm not going to do it because I don't believe in him, so I think I will go for a bit of a reach. No, I'll get him back here. I'm going to go Puka. And I did not get him. I did not get him on the turnaround here. I was leaning Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs go. Then we are going to go for, I think, the strategy we're employing now is 0 RB. So we're going to go Garrett Wilson here.
Alrighty, and I really thought about using a power up there to kind of jump up and get Garrett Wilson, but we're gonna rock and roll this as it's line and have some fun here. So puts me back on the clock here, and you know what, Alex, you're going the 0 RB. We'll go RB heavy right here since that's the hand we're dealt. Saquon Barkley's the pick.
All right. Josh Allen, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, Drake London, Travis Etienne. Okay. So, got Tyreek on the board. We could be looking Chris Olave, Devon Achane. I do not love Achane here at the back of the second round. I know we talked about this. So, I think what we're going to do here is make a slight pivot, and I'm going for some high
Pause.
upside.
Pause. Kicker.
Oh,
Okay, Justin Tucker.
all right.
What the?
I've never heard that before. That's fantastic.
Oh, that's funny.
That is really good.
All right. Coming through my list of goodies here, see what's shaking. Mm-hmm. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, I am going to play into this Brandon Ayuk noise, and I am going to take Debo as the true alpha in San Francisco.
Interesting.
All right. So, and after Debo, Ayuk goes, Nico Collins, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, and Jalen Waddle. And that puts me on the clock here. And at this point, with the Ramondre Stevens, Saquon Barkley pairing here, definitely kind of leaves some interesting things at play. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the Chris Olave is still out there on the board, and that's not a bad spot to kind of start with a wide receiver here, and that's where we're going to go.
All right, so after Olave goes, Jalen Hurts goes. I feel pretty good about taking Josh Jacobs here. We get the turnaround here after Josh Jacobs. It goes DK Metcalf and DJ Moore. That sucks because I was really hoping he would come around back to me. Not a huge fan of Stephon Diggs here. I think he will do fine there. I'm just not 100% on it. So I will go ahead and go quarterback here and take Patrick Mahomes.
All righty, and then Stephon Diggs comes off the board right after that. And that leaves me back on the clock here and kind of looking through some of these things. And, there's a couple of options that I could go here with some really good kind of running backs still in this mix. Also wide receivers in this mix. Since we've already got 2 running backs, we're going to go ahead and stick with the wide receivers here. And the fact that Puka Nacua has, a little dinged up here in camp, and we're going to go ahead and go with a guy that there's been a lot of reports coming out that he's out on a mission to prove that he's still the guy and that Rams offense runs through him. So we're going to go with Cooper Kupp here as our wide receiver 2.
All right, Rachaad White, Lamar Jackson, Malik Neighbors, Joe Mixon, Michael Pittman. All right, here. So I got my kicker position checked off the board here. I got some wide receivers, and so now let's see here.
If you would consult Craig here, I think he'd probably tell you take a defense and special teams.
Right, I'm sure Mr. Craig would.
You certainly have
James Cook here. I think James is going to be getting a lot of passing work. He was running pretty damn efficiently last year in Buffalo, so not my ideal anchor running back here, but that's okay. We're going to make this work. So CJ Stroud, Mark Andrews, Devonta Smith, George Pickens. So I like this spot a lot more. And
I hate to do this to you, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm going to power up here.
That's fine. You can move up to 9.
Can I not move up? I can only move up to you?
2 spots.
2 spots. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to power up here, Derek. So get ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to take Kamara here. I think the passing work here, along with James Cook. So I'm going to get a lot of receptions out of these two running backs.
All right. So, Derek, I'm going to power up here.
Okay.
And I'm going to take your spot.
Okay.
And I'm going to take – I got to tell everybody what just happened. Zay Flowers goes. Dalton Kincaid goes. Kenneth Walker goes. Amari Cooper, Tank Dell. And I'm on the clock here. Actually, I rescind it. I rescind my power up.
What? No.
You didn't say anything about that. We didn't say that you couldn't rescind it.
Oh.
Rescinded power up.
Oh my. Okay. I'm still not sure what to make of that, but okay.
I'm not sure either.
All right. So I guess that puts me back on the clock here, and let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And there really are some pretty good options here. I could look at potentially trying to take a quarterback here, be a little bit of a difference maker, try and get like Anthony Richardson for the rushing upside. But I don't think we're going to go that route. Some tight ends out there kind of calling as well. Some good wide receivers here and some good running backs here as well. Since we had the joy of drafting Ramondre Stevenson with our first pick, we're gonna go ahead and shy away from running back, and we'll go ahead and take the guy playing on the franchise tag, playing contract year in a high-powered offense. We're gonna take T. Higgins with this pick.
All right, after T. Higgins goes Trey McBride, and I feel comfortable here. Now, I don't need Anthony Richardson. Kyle Pitts is intriguing to me here. And I think that is the direction that I will go is Kyle Pitts here with a Kirk Cousins, hopefully Kirk Cousins, or a Michael Penix who, a good pass catching tight end. So I'll go Kyle Pitts. After Kyle Pitts goes Aaron Jones and James Conner, which were two dudes that I was looking at. That really sucks. And I think now I will take a reach. I am going to reach a little bit and take David Montgomery.
Okay. Alrighty. And then right after that, DeAndre Swift comes off the board, and that puts me back on the clock here. And, again, there's still some really kind of interesting options that we can rock and roll with and go with here. Again, kind of looking at some of this, we've got 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs already off the board. But with this one here, we're going to go ahead and take a shot on a running back, since that position is going to thin out here, kind of quick, fast, in a hurry. And we're going to go ahead and take a guy with a ton of upside here and take Raheem Mostert.
All right. So Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk. All right here. So let's see. I'm not a huge lover of the wide receivers in this range just quite yet, but what I do have the opportunity of is a tight end who sees a crap ton of targets. Again, I'm feeding all into the PPR mania with pass catching running backs, Tyreek Hill, who's just dominant there. Debo, the new true alpha, assuming this Ayuk trade goes through. I'm going to add Evan Ingram to the mix. So Roma Dunze, Joe Burrow, Xavier Worthy, Najee Harris follow. After that, I am not overly concerned about any of those personally. And so where I think I'm going to land, because we have yet to hear any news and starting to think this may not be a thing at all, I'm going to grab Rashee Rice and get a piece of Kansas City.
Okay. And after Rashee Rice goes, then it's George Kittle, Tony Pollard, Jaden Reed, Zamir White, Hollywood Brown, all off the board, and that puts me back on the clock here. And there's a couple of really interesting and intriguing type of routes that I could go here. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to secure our quarterback here with Dak Prescott being on the board here, and do think that Dak provides some really good upside and some great value off of his ADP.
All right. After Dak goes, it's Jonathan Brooks. Puts me on the clock here. I've got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a quarterback, and a tight end. So really looking for depth, looking for a flex position, which I kind of like. Who is available here? And I think we will take the flyer on Nick Chubb. After Nick Chubb, it's Calvin Ridley. On the turn goes Chris Godwin. Back to me, still plenty of running backs available. Wide receiver is another place where I need to start developing some depth here. There's plenty of depth pieces still available, but I have a feeling that's going to start to thin itself out. And I'm going to take a guy who fills that opposite role of Justin Jefferson. So I'm going to go Jordan Addison.
Okay. And right after Jordan Addison, Deontay Johnson comes off the board, and that puts me back on the clock. Currently have a roster with 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and Dak at the QB. So certainly some decent depth and some decent you kind of play here. And as we start looking at this thing and what the options are there, not really kind of loving what's showing out there currently. So could go with tight end and kind of secure that position. There are a few of those guys kind of right there, but also feel like it can punt that position down the road a little bit more and get just as good a value there. So starting to look at some other options here as well. And at that point, going to go ahead and take a shot on another running back. And we're going to go with Javonte Williams with this.
Vlad McConkey, Zach Moss, David Njoku, Christian Watson, and Jordan Love here in the 8th. All right, so back to me. Let's see here. Got tight end heavy here at the top between Bowers and Ferguson. I don't need that because I already grabbed Ingram. Definitely do not like the running backs here in this round. So really it's just trying to understand what I would like to do at wide receiver here at the moment. So D-Hop scares me because of this knee injury. But man, when he's in, did Will Levis just absolutely pepper the crap out of him. And I like the idea of that. But we need some splash. Maybe. All right, I'm going to go Keon Coleman here. I'm going to pair him up with James Cook and just feel like I have a crap ton of targets come out of Buffalo because they got to throw it to somebody. D-Hop went right after that. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Trey Benson, Brian Thomas Jr., and then back to me. And This is more of a depth piece, but it goes back in line with the pass catchers. I'm going to grab Jalen Warren here as some depth at running back.
Alrighty, and that puts me back on the clock after Tajay Spear, Jake Ferguson, Brock Bowers, Caleb Williams, and Gus Edwards all come off the board. And so kind of staring this one down, looking at what the potential for some guys here. And at that point, there's certainly some options here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a guy that's, we've seen a lot of positive things coming out of camp, and a bit of a splash play here. But we're going to go ahead and take Jameson Williams.
Should have used my power up. Good pick, Derek. Good pick. All right.
What was your pitfall?
I used it on you already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's Derek's pitfall that
Derek
Yep.
is holding on here. I feel like it's going to be something real late where we think we get a steal, and then he's going to say, no, sir.
That very well could be.
All right. So after Jameson Williams goes Brock Purdy. That puts me on the clock. I am really looking at one position here. I really feel like I need running back help to complement Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, and Nick Chubb. A couple guys, well, really Nick Chubb, that I'm not entirely sure how much of Nick Chubb I'm going to get. So I've kind of been tracking some guys the last couple of rounds to see where it lands. I'm in between a couple dudes here. I think I'm going to go with the inexperienced quarterback that probably isn't the best call here, but I'm going to go Austin Eckler. After Eckler goes Devin Singletary and then Jared Goff. That puts me back on the clock here. Again, my team now, I've got four running backs, 3 wide receivers, quarterback, and a tight end. So I'm going to turn my attention back to receivers to try and develop a little bit more depth there. This feels like a good spot to take this guy that I feel like is underrated, even though the guy opposite of him should be healthy again this year. But we saw him be kind of the go-to guy in Green Bay with a good quarterback. So I'm going to take Romeo Doubs here.
Okay. And after Romeo Doubs goes, then it is Brian Robinson that comes off the board, and that puts me back on the clock here. And again, an interesting kind of makeup here of this roster with Ramondre Stevenson, Saquon Barkley, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Raheem Mostert, Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, and Jameson Williams. And that puts me back on the clock with about 5 picks left to go. Still looking to pick up the tight end, kicker, defense, and 2 bench positions here. So there is certainly a couple of options that I feel pretty good about going through and picking up here. One of them, we're going to go ahead and just kind of solidify the running back room here, and we're going to take a guy that's likely to get a lot of touchdown potential opportunities here, and a lot of red zone work down in Dallas, and that's going to be Ezekiel Elliott.
All right. Tua coming off the board, Dallas Goedert, Jaden Daniels, Blake Corum, Shakir. Very interesting how the board, we're grabbing second quarterbacks in the 10th round already. Like, gotta love how these mocks work out sometimes, right? All right, nevertheless, here I am. I'm on the board. I'm going to go Chase Brown here. We're hearing a lot of good things about him out of Cincinnati camp, to the fact that he might be pushing Zach Moss for that starting role. So I'm going to get me a little piece of that and see how that goes. And then I don't know. Trying to look around here, see what else I got. All right. A little bit of a reach here, but I don't think he's getting back to me. So I'm going to take Jacoby Myers because I think Derek is going to be eyeballing him.
I was very much eyeballing him, and it was almost the almost used that pitfall there. But we're gonna go ahead and just let it ride here at this point. We're gonna go ahead and secure our tight end here, though. That position's starting to thin out here, really quick, fast, in a hurry, and we'll go ahead and take a guy that has had previous seasons be fairly decent at the position. And we're gonna go ahead and take Pat Fryermuth with this pick.
All right. After Pat Fryermuth, Curtis Samuel comes off the board, and I am officially, with 4 picks left, need to spend 2 of those on a defense and a kicker because that's the exercise. And so 2 of them, I can go get my guy, right? So the problem is I'm not sure who my guy is this year. I think I'll have some fun, and I'll take Xavier Legette here. After Legette goes Trevor Lawrence, and then Luke Musgrave. And my current team makeup is Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Kyle Pitts, Nick Chubb. On the bench, I have Jordan Addison, Austin Eckler, Romeo Doubs, Xavier Legette. Running back would be helpful just to kind of balance out what I have. And I'll take a guy that I think will have a decent enough standard role. But should anything happens to what we assume will be the bell cow, he'll step into what I think will be a good offense. I'll take Tyler Algier here.
Okay. And after Tyler Algier, it is Jerry Jeudy, and that puts me back on the clock here. And yeah, certainly a couple of different options here with 3 picks left. Still needing a kicker, a defense, and a bench player here. And you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll start taking a look at some of these positions and just kind of get out ahead of it here. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to just take a look at the kicker, and we'll go ahead and just take Butker out of Kansas City.
All right, Jerome Ford, Raheem Shaheed, Mike Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. Fair enough. All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna have a little fun with this, y'all. I'll take the top defense on the board, New York Jets. Get in front of it. All right, Dobbins, Matt Stafford, San Francisco's defense, and the Dallas Cowboys. All right, so let's see here. I need myself a quarterback. I'm going to take the guy who finished top 10 last year, Baker Mayfield.
All righty, and after Baker goes, then it's the Ravens, Chiefs, Steelers, Eagles, Browns defense. And that puts me back on the clock here. And let's see here what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and just hop on the defensive train here and go ahead and rock and roll that. And we'll go ahead and take a flyer here on the Dolphins defense.
Interesting. I almost used my power up there because I too need a defense, and seeing that they're all going away, but I didn't need it because you didn't take a team that I was eyeing. I'm gonna go just because I think they're fun and I want to root for them in some capacity this year. I'll take the Lions defense here.
No, you won't.
Okay, I will not take the Lions defense.
So we're gonna go ahead and use that pitfall there and just get it in here before we run out of
I feel
time.
like you had some real opportunities to get to him here, Derek, and you just kind of let him slide.
Yep, that is accurate. So
Here's the deal: you don't really have to do too much to me because I do enough to myself.
well,
Honestly, I thought you were going to do it the Monty pick, Derek, back in round 6.
I thought so too. I was defending against that.
I really about did and let him fall back to me, but Mostert was still there. What I was really waiting on, and to full disclosure there, what I was really waiting on was Alex to go ahead and use that power up to jump up to snipe me on one of those and get ahead of that to take that pick. In which case I was going to say, no, thank you. You're not. And then turn around and immediately use that again in the following round to jump up ahead of him on my power up there. So,
but I didn't play your little game, Derek. I tried, but I didn't play your little game.
You almost did. And that's okay. So
No.
Alex, you're back on the clock. Can't take the Lions defense.
Man, I guess I'll take a defense that might be on the field a lot. Probably get a bunch of points racked up against them. I'll go the Commanders defense. After the Commanders defense goes, Evan McPherson goes, and the Seahawks goes. Irony, I could still take the Lions here if I wanted, but I can't because I got to take a kicker. And the one that I wanted, still on the board. Why do I want this kicker? Because
you like saying dicker.
No, although that's very funny. Why can I not? Why is this? Why are we paused, Derek?
Well,
explain yourself.
I've got one power up left, and we're just going to go ahead and use it right here.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to go ahead and hop in here and just select the old Brandon Cooks here for that. So not going to really mess you up much, but
it doesn't. Okay, so Brandon Cooks goes off the board. Still need a kicker. I'm going to go with Kaimi Fairbairn from Houston. Plays most of his games inside. I think Houston puts up a fair amount of points this year. So
fair enough. So I'm using this as kind of an upside play because I think now that he has some weapons around him and the fact that he uses his legs a lot, it gives me a pivot in case Baker does have some pitfalls here to start the season. I'm going to go Will Levis.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting as far as how that kind of panned out there.
Let's do a recap of our team. And Kevin, go ahead and give us your team.
All right. Baker Mayfield, James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Evan Ingram, Rashee Rice, Justin Tucker, the Jets defense, and then the bench is rounded out by Keon Coleman, Jalen Warren, Chase Brown, Jacoby Myers, and Will Levis.
How are you feeling about this team from the 3 slot?
Overall, I feel okay about it. In hindsight, I probably should have used my power up instead of drafting Coleman where I did. I probably should have used my power up to jump in and grab Jordan Love, knowing that the team in front of me at that point hadn't taken a quarterback either, and I was just kind of getting cute with it. So once Love was off the board, I was just kind of waiting to see what was coming back to me, and I just didn't like it, and so I settled on Baker. So there's a big difference, right, between round 8 drafting a quarterback and round 13. So I think that was one thing that was a little funky, and obviously drafting a kicker in the second round always kind of screws things up because I was going to go Derrick Henry, and I think that would have changed changed the makeup of a couple different things that I was doing, but it is what it is. Overall, I don't feel like it was damning having to draft the kicker in the second round. Like, I still think my team's going to be competitive, but there's definitely a little bit more work to be done than what I was originally anticipating coming in.
A Tyreek Hill, Derrick Henry stack. And let's be honest here. Let's look at what Team 1 did for a computer. Aside from the last 5 picks, Team 1 put together a pretty solid first 4 or 5 rounds here. They had Justin Jefferson, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, which was available, right, because Justin Tucker was taken. Mark Andrews, is that Devonta Smith and Joe Burrow? Like that's not a bad way for 5 picks out of the 1 slot. Now, I don't think that happens too often, but that's not a bad way to go about it.
No, but it's what you open yourself up to by going receiver at 1 overall as opposed to CMC.
Right.
Like, this was a pretty good illustration of what can, and not always, but what can come back to you if you decide that you're not going CMC and you're going to take one of those top 3 receivers.
Right.
Okay, but realistically, so if Derrick Henry comes off the board when you take him there in the second round, Kevin, then it was 4 receivers. So you have to go receiver, scat back, right? That's what a Devon Achane is. And then it's another receiver. That's pretty interesting.
But I'm not scared. I'm not scared of receiver Achane and Mike Evans there either. Like,
yeah,
I would have happily taken Mike Evans if he was available. I mean, I think this news for San Francisco, I do think now I kind of moved Debo up ahead of him. But, if Debo was gone, I would have happily taken Mike Evans there and been happy. Like, it's all good.
Yeah. All right, Derek, you were picking at 9. How do you feel?
So at 9, right? And this team turned out
picking at 9, and then apparently in the first round, picking in the 9th round.
Well, that does happen sometimes. But this team ended up with Dak Prescott, Ramondre Stevenson, Saquon Barkley, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, Pat Freiermuth, T. Higgins, Harrison Butker, the Dolphins defense, Raheem Mostert, Javonte Williams, Jamison Williams, Zeke, and Brandon Cooks. So overall, right, like that having to draft a Patriots player in that first round certainly kind of put it a little bit on tilt to start it off with. So well played on that one, sir. But overall, like I feel pretty good about this roster. I feel like this is a roster that can compete. I would have very much liked to have started off that team with Amon-Ra St. Brown as a wide receiver and really anchored that wide receiver position there. But overall, am not upset by what we've got going here.
All right, and then for me at the 11th spot, my team. Oh, it kicked me out. Hang on. My team consisting of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Kyle Pitts, Nick Chubb, Kaimi Fairbairn. The Commanders' defense and special teams are just defense. Sorry. Jordan Addison on the bench, Austin Eckler, Romeo Doubs, Xavier Legette, and Tyler Algier on the bench there. I think the place where I really, really probably misstepped, and it's really hard to, when this guy's available, to turn your back on him. But I think taking Mahomes where I took Mahomes kind of messed up what I was trying to accomplish. Going Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson to start at the back end isn't exactly what I kind of should have. I kind of was thinking that I could go RB heavy at the start and go Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm a little gun shy on Gibbs just because I know that David Montgomery is a thing that exists there in Detroit. Like that, it just scares me a little bit on him. I'm not as high on him as I think other people are. But I still could have done a Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. Like that was available to me. I didn't. And I think taking Mahomes early there kind of forced my hand to then look for depth and just nice pieces, not really overwhelming pieces
Fair enough.
It's just hard. It's hard when Patrick Mahomes is sitting there staring you down to pass on that. I think it's going to take a lot of discipline for people to recognize where they're at. Did I take Mahomes a little bit too early? Probably, because still on the board was Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Rashad White. But then what comes back to me around the next quarterback taken is Joe
You
Burrow.
still had Richardson, Murray,
and Burrow and Dak.
Burrow, Dak, Love.
There's still plenty. I think it's tough. It's tough to say no when Patrick Mahomes is sitting there because you want a piece of that Chiefs offense. I think that's a really difficult decision that people are having to face this year. At least it was for me.
Fair enough. I was going to say, I typically don't start looking at quarterbacks outside of, right? Like I'll spend up on like a Jalen Hurts, right? Like I'll spend up on some of those guys that have rushing upside there. But really, like when looking through a lot of these drafts anymore, I'm really happy waiting until Dak in the 7th or Jordan Love in the 8th type of deal there, and just how I can balance out teams. So, alrighty.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts here on our mocking drafting?
No, it's always interesting with the AI, right?
Yeah, what the computers do.
Right.
Like there's definitely some reaches that the AIs took that I was shocked on. But
which team would you rather have? Which computer team would you take as the best team?
Of the computer teams?
Yeah, just the computer teams.
I would say 1 or 5.
5. So we already went through what 1 is. Team 5 is Breece Hall, Drake London, Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, Dalton Kincaid, Kyler, Pollard, Watson, Ferguson, Corum, Mitchell, Rogers, Chiefs defense, and Jake Moody is the kicker.
Yeah. I would agree. It's either 1 or 5 for me as well.
I think Team 12 started out strong, and then
I'm so out on Aaron Jones this year. That's where they lost me. Like I'm perfectly fine with Connor, but I'm so out on Jones. I would have rather gone.
So they had a
Monty
chance to take
and
Montgomery
Connor, yeah. I'd rather gone Monty and Connor. I mean, hell, Connor and Mostert, like something like that. And I think I would have liked it, or really like change up it. Like even if you went one running back there and then you went Kirk, like I'd skip over McLaren and Keenan Allen, but Christian Kirk and pair up Connor and Kirk. Like I think he could have done some different things because then. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, and they waited the hell out of quarterback on that one too, and ended up with Goff and Lawrence. Like that's not a bad pairing at all.
It really is not.
That was one of those. I was surprised they went back to back. I was surprised they went back to back on quarterback there. I'm always shocked when you have a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, these top 3 to 5 quarterbacks, and you grab a backup. Like the Hurts owner also has Purdy. The Allen owner also has Tua. Lamar has Caleb Williams. I get the Anthony Richardson thing, but pairing Anthony Richardson with a rookie quarterback, like that makes no stinking sense. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think that's some very interesting teams there and some interesting draft picks that were made. Any other thoughts or anything else we want to rock and roll through tonight?
Nah, it's fun. We're starting to I'm starting. I know you guys have been going pretty hard since maybe the flip of the calendar to July. But I'm starting to get into some of these mocks now, and it's fun to see what's happening. And how things are shaking out.
Right. And it's you say since it flipped to July, it's been further back than that.
Since June or
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
There might have
Middle of
been a couple
February.
in August.
Right. So
Ooh, I'm up.
Hey, Kevin's in another draft.
yeah, I
never
had a
know.
few going as well. So alrighty. Well, any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Enjoy. Keep apprised or praised of what's going on here in the news. Obviously, like we want to keep an eye on Christian McCaffrey's calf. We want to keep an eye on contract situations for some of these guys who still have not been practicing with the team, i.e., CD Lamb and Jamar Chase. Obviously, the Brandon Ayuk news, right? So a lot of this stuff will start to affect draft positions in another week or two, right? Like, let's get 2 full preseason games in. Let's see how things shake. And if some of these guys are still sitting out, whatever you want to call it, I think at that point we're going to start seeing maybe not radical changes, but we're going to start seeing changes in ADP here. We'll start seeing some of these guys slip.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that rock and rolls there. But Alex, any final thoughts out there?
No, if you got your questions, we are more than happy to help you work through some things. I'm actually about to pose a question to the boys once we get off here because I've been sent a trade offer in a super flex 10 team that I'm in with them. Not going to disclose who's sending stuff, but I'm going to have to figure out what I want. Unless you guys want to have the discussion right now. My question is,
What you got?
I would be receiving Romeo Doubs and Luke Musgrave in exchange for Trey McBride.
No, I'm not giving up McBride.
Current roster.
I don't care what your current roster is. Dobbs and Musgrave aren't enough.
Right.
I also have Pat Freiermuth, but yeah.
Nope.
Trey McBride.
Trey McBride is so young and going to be such a focal point for the next 5+ years there in Arizona. Injury withstanding, that arguably a third or fourth wide receiver on a team, and then the 4th or 5th option at tight end on same said team are not even remotely close for me.
I'm assuming it's dynasty as well.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hard pass. You need more out of that to give up McBride. Right? Like you need a guy that's going to be at least a wide receiver 2 for fantasy, and you can get another tight end if you're looking for depth there. And realistically, you probably should be picking up at some draft picks in there as well. So,
God, this team is terrible. Oh, what I was thinking when I was drafting this one, boys. That was pretty rough.
Alrighty. Well, any additional final thoughts out there?
That's it.
All right. Well, let's call it a night. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch us on all the socials at Good Old Boys FF, and we'll be back next Tuesday, 11 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a good night. Be safe. Toodaloos.